Picture this, you're playing in the round of 16 of the Champions League with Atalanta, a team who just a few years ago were fighting to avoid relegation, and fans of this club could only dream of nights like this. But thanks to you, they are living the dream. You're facing a historic team with European pedigree, Valencia, and instead of being eliminated like everyone thought you would be, you carry your team into the quarterfinals with two stellar performances, even scoring 4 goals in the second leg. You're a club hero, a national hero, and after a solid but ultimately average career, you're at the absolute top of the world, performing at the same level as the best players in the world. All eyes are set on you, and legendary clubs are already looking to sign you. But then, it all comes crumbling down. Josip Ilicic was never a world beater. He was a decent striker in Italy, but no one thought that he would achieve so much with Atalanta. He got discovered by Palermo in 2010 after causing them many problems in the Europa League qualifying match. He stepped up and showed how ready he was for the Serie A, immediately becoming a starter. He spent 3 seasons there before he moved to Fiorentina, where he continued to be a reliable forward, but it was with Atalanta that he truly stood out, having scored 49 goals up until this point. At 32 years old, Ilicic was now set for the most important 2 matches of his career, a quarter-final showdown against PSG. But as we all know, in 2020 football had to stop because of the pandemic, and the city Ilicic was leaving was immensely affected by the disease. People were forced to stay at home, and in Ilicic's case, far away from his family. Alone with his own thoughts, Josip was confronted with thousands and thousands of death reports, empty streets, ambulance sirens, and discouraging news. And that really affected him more than the majority of us. Because there's something that I haven't told you yet. Ilicic lost his dad at just 7 months old and had to leave his country behind because of the Yugoslav wars. He crossed borders with his mom and his brother before he finally found a safe place in Slovenia. He saw death, empty streets, sadness and misery all around him, and that definitely leaves marks. Tragedy always seemed to follow him, much more than the good times. Back in 2018, the striker lost David Astori, one of his best friends, while playing for Fiorentina, and a couple of months later he was in a hospital bed fighting for his life with a lymph node infection. As you can imagine, seeing tragedy happen again, even though it was in a different context, sent the Slovenian striker into a deep depression. He didn't work out, he didn't eat well, so before he really fell into the bottom of the pit, he decided to leave Italy and visit his source of strength, his loving family. But when he got there, he found out that his wife had been secretly cheating on him, and that completely destroyed them. They had been together for over 10 years and had 2 daughters. She was the only woman in his life, his backbone, and all of a sudden, just like most things in his life, it also collapsed. Soon enough, the media in Italy found about the scandal and created headlines after headlines, humiliating the poor man. It got to a point where it was no longer a question if he would miss the most important match of his career, but instead if he would ever play again. However, in the face of adversity, Atalanta always supported him. Even though he couldn't make it to the Champions League match in Lisbon, the club gave him time to recover and always assured him a place in the team. After all, he was the main figure in that squad, Il Professore, and the manager Gasperini, more than anything, wanted to see him do well. And in September of the same year, he finally bounced back. He put his pride aside and defended his wife, posting pictures alongside her, and made his return to Atalanta, looking to earn back his place in the starting 11. I'm not anyone to judge his decisions, but I feel like he just put a band-aid on a huge wound that was still bleeding profusely. Even though he was playing, he was nowhere near the star he was in the last 2 seasons, dropping from 21 goals in 34 matches to just 7 goals in 38 matches. It's like I told you, the problem wasn't fully fixed, and 2 years later, he would once again fall into a depressive state. This time, nobody truly knew why. He had the best psychiatrists and therapists alongside him, a coach who treated him like a son, and teammates that revered him. Bergamo loved him, Atalanta loved him, but Ilicic didn't love himself. He missed another 4 months of action, and when he came back, it was evident to him and everybody around him that it was time to move on. It was time to let go of the pain and sorrow, to stop finding temporary fixes to permanent problems, and hopefully be happy again. After an emotional send-off, Ilicic was a free agent, and although his mental health issues and age scared the biggest teams, he could probably still find a place in a decent team from the top 5 leagues. But instead, he shocked everyone when he decided to head back to Slovenia, the country that had received him with arms wide open when he was just a frightened child. His next club? Maribor, the biggest team in the country, and he only needed a couple of minutes in his debut to score a goal. But he was definitely out of shape, and he only scored one more goal until the end of the season. His club didn't win the league or the cup, and he wasn't the starter and prolific forward that most Maribor fans hoped for. I'm sorry, but so far, I really can't give you a happy ending for him as a player. What I truly hope is that behind the scenes, Ilicic, the man, is fighting to stay mentally and physically healthy, and that removes everyone that had caused him harm out of his life. I truly hope that his wife didn't cheat on him, and that was just something that the media made up. And I truly hope he makes peace with his past and acknowledges that although he can change or remove the trauma that happened in his life, he can still live a prosperous and joyful life, surrounded by his children and friends that look up to him and see him as an inspiration on how to overcome adversity. Thank you for reaching the end of the video. This time I'm not gonna ask you to subscribe, like, or click on the next one, but I need a favor from you. When you leave this video, please go check on your friends or close ones, ask them how they've been, and tell them that they can count on you. Sometimes, that's worth more than anything in the world. I'll see you soon.